Happy week 5, everybody. Welcome. We are starting unit number 5. So we are getting even further into the argument essay this week. So let me share my screen and we'll do our usual walkthrough. I do want to mention while I'm making the transition over to the share screen. Last week, there were a lot of posts on the discussion boards in all my classes because we were doing the product review. It was clear that some of the information had come from somewhere, maybe a website, whatever, but it looked like a good number of people had done a little bit of research on the topic. And yet I was not seeing any reference list. I wasn't seeing any in-text citation. And I just want to make sure that we revisit the issue, which is using the words or the ideas from anywhere, even a website, even a commercial. That is research and that has to be cited. So in order to cite sources, you need two pieces. You need a reference entry, right? So if it was a big formal paper, the last page would be the references page and it would be separated from everything else. It would be a list in alphabetical order of the sources that you had used. Now, how we cite those sources is going to depend on what kind of source it is. But you have access at all times to the APA 7th edition information over here on the left-hand column in the course. So you would use that, figure out how to cite it, and include the references entry. Whatever is in that references entry is what you're also going to use for the in-text citation. So if there was an author, you would have the author's last name and the year of whenever it was published. Now, a lot of websites, of course, don't give us any dates. And a lot of websites don't give us any authors. So then we have to use something different. If there is no date, you'll have in the little parentheses, the N period, D period. That'll be not only part of the in-text citation, but that'll be part of the references source as well, a citation as well. So if you have a website that you are citing, you're going to have a date to put, even if it's no date, right? And if you don't have an author, you're going to use whatever now comes first in the entry, which typically on a web page would be the page title itself, not the website, but the actual page of things that you're looking at. There is a website, and I think I've mentioned it to you guys before, Scribbr. It's spelled Scribbr. And that is a website that will give you free APA citations. Not all websites do APA for free. So I want to find an article on a website real quick and show you how you would then cite it. And I am going to use Scribbr just because it's going to be a lot faster. But you also want to open the APA information and use that as well. So let's just do a quick Google search of coffee. How about decaffeinated coffee? Because I might have done the pluses and minuses of decaffeinated coffee in that assignment. And here's a great website to use for that because it literally is titled The Pros and Cons of Decaf Coffee. So let's say that I use some information from this, like maybe, let's see, is decaf coffee healthy? Pros, let's do one of the cons. Because I feel like most people, it was the con side that you looked up to get some additional information. So let's use this piece of information. There have been multiple studies studying the effects of decaf coffee on cholesterol in humans. Some argue that it increases cholesterol, but others say there's no effect. So let's say it could possibly raise your cholesterol. That's how I'm going to put that in my paragraph. So I'm going to have a citation next to that, but I'm also going to have the end. So let me get my website address, copy that, and I'm going to go to Scribber. And we go to the citation generator. This also does APA or MLA, but of course you guys will use APA for our class and for post. And we want a website. Paste that in and search for it. Now, if it is a decent website, it will probably come up with all the information, which it does. We have the information here. There's going to be a little bit of weirdness because it's got like some ampersand things, but let's go ahead and click on it. That is the right web page. So it asks us for the title, the pros and cons of decaf coffee. Now, one of the things that hopefully we have been learning is that APA does not use traditional title capitalization. And you notice that Scribber is even smart enough to remind us of that. So it says, let's do these lowercase. Yes, I will take it. You could do it yourself. You'd manually do it. There's the URL. The author, we don't really have an author. We only have Bean and Bean Coffee Roasters, but that's what they're calling themselves. So we just change this to just one ampersand. Don't need all the rest of that. Let's say unknown. No, well, let's use that. No, okay, sorry. Let's say unknown. This does have a publication date, and we do know what day we accessed it. It's going to be 7 February. Uh, 2022. And we click on the site site source. Oh my gosh, I can't talk this morning. So here's my citation. And when I'm ready to use it, I just copy it. You can click to copy and paste it into my documents. Now, the other thing that you can get directly from Scribber, which is kind of cool, is what is the in-text citation? So notice that it actually gives you what you would put inside the parentheses inside your article. Now, I will mention a lot of websites will not be programmed properly. So sometimes you have to do some of this manually, but that's what you would use in the in-text citation when you use the information from the source. So this is an important thing because this is what you're going to be doing essentially for the rest of the semester. Okay, so you're going to have every time you use a resource in a discussion or in a formal assignment, you're going to cite it using those techniques. So if it's a library source, which most of all of yours for the paper should be, then of course you're going to get the citation within the library source like we've looked at before. And then you're going to use the in-text citation, which will typically be an author and a year. All right. Now, if you need extra help in citing your sources, if it's not during my office hours and I'm not reachable, remember, you can always reach out to the tutors at Post through the Tutor Me system. So make use of all the tools that are available to you, including myself. And let's get these papers on track. Let's get these discussions to where we're not accidentally committing plagiarism, because that's the ultimate possible negative result is if you forget to cite your sources, even if you're doing it unintentionally, it is technically plagiarism. So good life lesson for today. All right, so let's talk about Unit 5 and what we're doing. We are using argument. And we've already really started using argument because you've been writing pro and con paragraphs. You've been writing pros and cons of a particular product, which is in its own special way a form of argument. But this week, we're going to be digging more into official versions of argument and historical definitions and ways of setting up a good argument. So in the readings and resources, you have sections on persuasive writing, fact, opinion, and bias, which is a great example, a great topic to talk about, because when we had the discussion board about that, a lot of folks automatically kind of gravitated toward the fact that facts are what you want. But the reality is that anything that has been processed by a human is usually going to contain some opinion and some bias. The key is not necessarily to avoid all opinions and bias, but the key is to be able to tell the difference between fact and opinion and then utilize that fairly. So that's what you're writing about or reading about this week. And then we have a sample introduction. Now, this is the potential first paragraph of a paper about cyberbullying. However, keep in mind, cyberbullying is not one of the topics that you can write about. This is just to show you what a first paragraph should and could look like in an argument essay. So you'll read that as well. All right. Now, what are you doing for assignments this week? There's two, as usual. You have the fact versus opinion discussion board. And you're going to be talking about the things that you've just read. What would you consider to be the biggest difference between a fact and an opinion? How would you use a fact in your writing? And how would you use opinion in your writing? Because you will use both. Why do you think that people get confused about the difference between a fact and an opinion? Now, this is the kind of fun part about this discussion post. After your paragraph of discussion of those questions, I want you to have two statements, two sentences at the bottom of the page there. You can number them, you can bullet them, you can do whatever you want to with them, but they should be separate from your paragraph. Provide two statements at the end of your post. Statement one, statement two. One statement should be a fact and one should be an opinion. And then when you come in to respond to your fellow students, you're going to focus on those statements and talk about which one is a fact, which one is an opinion, and why. Okay, so all the usual deadlines apply here. Wednesday, last date to post your own response for full credit. And then the following Sunday, of course, you have to have all of your response posts in as well. Okay, and then you have your writing assignment. So I'm not a huge fan of this assignment, only because I feel like writing the introduction to a paper is something you should really wait to do until the paper is written. But we got to start somewhere. And most people really do like to start at the very beginning, write the paper from start to finish. So it's fine. We'll live with it. We'll do it. It's all good. But using that sample introduction on cyberbullying as kind of a model, you're going to write the introduction to your own argument paper. Now, remember, in this assignment, you're going to review the argument essay assignment itself. So if I click on this, this is taking me to the real argument paper. This is not this week's assignment. This is due in week 7. You'll even see due Sunday of week 7. But this is the basis for your argument paper. This is the argument paper essay. So what you're writing for this week is only the first paragraph of this paper. Okay, so you do want to review this carefully. Remember, there's only 3 potential topics. You have to choose one of those. Should free speech be regulated on social media? Should health insurance be mandatory for all American citizens? And should Americans be required to complete some form of national service? So remember, those are the topics you chose from last week. You really should be following through the same one. This would be the right time to change, though, if you decided you didn't want to write about the one you wrote about in week 4. Excuse me, but you can use the things that you've written in week 4. You're going to eventually use the introduction that you're writing now. So all of these things are supposed to build into each other. All right. So I'm not going to read the rest of this to you now because I want you to read it yourself, but that is the argument paper assignment. The other assignment sheet that you will need to refer to this week is the Unit 5 assignment. And this is the one that we're actually turning in this week. This is just the first paragraph. Okay, so it's got instructions just like all of them. You want to make sure that you are following all of the requirements, avoiding first person, all the same things that we've been practicing. Now, if you use any research to write your introduction, that needs to be cited. However, you do not have to have any research in an introductory paragraph. So just keep that in mind. most of you will only be turning in a cover page and then the intro paragraph on the second page. But if you have used any research, you want to also then have a references page, as well as the citations inside that paragraph. Sometimes we like to get like a fact or a statistic, something like that, or a quotation to use in an introduction. So if you do use one, that's fine, but just remember to go ahead and cite it. And that citation will still remain in the completed paper as well. All right, so those are your marching orders for this week. I hope everyone has a great week 5. Please reach out with questions and concerns and problems, and I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, I'm happy to help. And like I said, if it's a time when I'm not available, you can utilize the other resources at Post, Tutor Me, and the academic writer link. They're always there on the left-hand side. So, take advantage of the tools that you have. And I hope everyone has a great week. I will catch you next week. I'm sure I'll have something to tell you in the meantime, but you'll see me again live or videotaped in a week. Everyone have a great day. Happy Monday where I am.